Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the National Intel Report. I'm your host, John Statmiller, on this Tuesday, 15th December 09. Yes, folks, only 16 more shopping days until we're looking at 2010. Bob Chapman, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
We are Robbie free today.
Well, that means we're going to have to be more than spectacular.
Well, geez, I didn't expect that. Robbie will be missed. I've been filling in for him this week, and I'll be filling in for him today on the flip side, and you're going to join me for a segment of that program.
I certainly am, first 15 minutes.
Which I am maxing out my Bob Chapman cap and trade credits here.
I got a big carbon footprint, you know.
Hey, a lot of funky stuff going on. Bob, I'm reading your newsletter, and I swear I'm a little confused here. Employment's up, but employment's down, and green shoots are working. You didn't say that, but what the heck is going on?
Well, they're first of all, they lie about all the figures. But even this time, more importantly, we've got them lying more than ever, and now they have admitted, and that is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is the Labor Department, that in their birth-death model, which I've talked about a great deal over the last 10 years, it's part of the makeup of U6. And that's the official government total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the unemployment, different stages, such as people who are no longer getting checks for unemployment from the state, people who are being forced to work part-time, average work week's 33.1 hours, people who are discouraged, plus the short-term unemployment, which miraculously dropped from 10.2 down to 10%. And now they come out and tell us that they have overestimated jobs created by the birth-death ratio by some 800,000. And they're going to have to readjust that. And I imagine they would do that, probably knowing them, over a one-year period. If we take the U6 figure of 17.2% unemployment, that's a government figure, and we put in the birth-death ratio, or pull it out, so to speak, we'll come up with 21.9, down from 22.2 the previous month.
All right, we got to take this break. 800-313-9443. Here's your chance to get at Bob Chapman. Any questions that you may have had or too afraid to call in? Now's your time.
Get ready for Real Talk Radio. You're listening to the National Intel Report with your host, John Statmiller.
Bob, are we experiencing in the economy, not that it's ticking up that much, but are we experiencing something that happened, say, in about 1930, 1931, after the Great Depression started? There was a little uptick, and then everything really fell apart.
Well, I had a couple of upticks. Late in 30, late in 31, and late in 32. They had 3 rises and falls. And after 33, it was downhill. The unemployment in 1939, which had been, as far as I can discern, was around 25% at its worst. And we get 21.9 right now. The unemployment in 39 was 17.4%, and in 40, it was 16.2. So we never really came out of the Depression. They just lined the ships up in Pearl Harbor and had them bombed. And that's how we extricated ourselves, and we blamed everything that the bankers did on the Japanese, who we had their diplomatic code broken in 1937. And I know that as a fact because that was some of the ciphers that we worked on when I first went into counterintelligence.
The issue here about how bad this is going to get. Now, we saw what happened with Dubai, and somebody pumped in, $10 billion? That'll give them a little breathing space. But we're continuing to see the commercial real estate market just absolutely fall apart. Last week I had a gentleman on that he's in Southern California, and he's paying attention, and he said, look, he said, everywhere you turn, it's like blight. Things are closing. There's for sale or lease signs and everything. I just drove through Dallas, Bob, the other day. They've got entire buildings, high-rise buildings, office buildings, for rent. I mean, they're completely empty. So I'm looking at this, and everybody, unless you're just a stone-cold masochist, that wants the entire system to fall apart so we can have anarchy and you can go shoot the neighbor or whatever. Everybody is secretly hoping that this is not going to be as bad as apparently it's going to be. So when they see little upticks, let's say, well, I'll give you a good little example. The United States dollar is strengthening. Ooh, that's good. 75.91, up 56 cents today, but everything else is down. I'm looking at gold. That's still hanging on, 11.24. It peaked out over 12, but I think our bottom on the gold market is around $1,100 for right now before it starts shooting up again. But the psychology of this, Mr. Chapman, people are desperately looking for any good signs. And like anything else, if you're looking too closely for something that you want to happen, to the exclusion of all of what else is going on, you have a tendency to ignore it. I know this is what Wall Street does. I know what this the bankers just absolutely love it. But where are we really at in this recession/depression?
Well, first of all, I didn't know that Nancy Pelosi lived next door to you.
The Grand Dame. Yeah, I live in her neighborhood.
Well, anyway, first of all, I said in previous international forecasters that I believe that the Depression began last February. And I think in time I'll be borne out, just like 2 years before that I said the recession began. And government caught up about 8 months later and said, oh, lo and behold, we have a recession. And so, and the pundits, as soon as the government said, yeah, it's okay, we can call it a recession, they all came out and said, oh, yes, well, I think we probably do have a recession. You talk about people who are afraid to commit themselves. The economists and analysts are, and even the newsletter writers, if they're not coming out and saying what they should say about what's going on, but, maybe they don't know, which is a good chance, they've been dramatically wrong. And I think it's a tragedy for people who listen to the mainline media and follow their dictates or ideas, and it ruins their business, or the investor who buys a newsletter and finds that they've been given all the wrong information. And that's been going on quite a while, and it's very disappointing for subscribers and others who, from time to time, read their publications. The quasi-recovery that they talk about is the result of the spending of I get so many different figures from government that I don't know where we are in the spending. But out of $800 billion in the stimulus package, their big mistake was using about $400 billion for tax relief. And that was almost half the money. Then another $250 billion for checks to people. So they had very little left. And the way it was structured, the timing was dreadful. And so